My name is Felipe Mazibuko. I am black with a purpose. My purpose is to make people, I want to live, my footprint has to be completely and utterly visible in how I feel, in what I think I've achieved, and in what I still want to achieve. I am Philip Mazibuko Kunene. I was born Friday the 13th, January 1969 in Soweto. I just don't like the word stylist anymore. I just find it's also, there are words that are completely allergic to. It's was stylist, it is icon, it is the narrative. So I try staying away from fashionable words. I am not what is written. I am who I am. I've earned what I earned, not figuratively, but because I believe that I have a purpose. I believe that what I untapped into 30 years ago is still the beginning of a long journey of achievements that Black excellence needs to rethink and relook at in terms of what cloth means to Blackness and what identity means, because that also comes within how we embellish ourselves as humanities, as cultures, and as a continent, and as a world. Stylist is a curator of a moment, of an idea, of a statement, of an ideology. For me, the mere fact that I woke up and my mother was buying a white magazine and here was a black magazine, that was a porn magazine that became a woman's magazine but did not address black dressing issues. For the mere fact that I identified that at 40, that became my purpose. Oh no, I read a lot. I draw inspiration from everybody. I can't live without a day of reading. For me, I draw inspiration. That's the reason I've never driven in my car. That's the reason if I'm not working and they not provide transport, I get into a taxi, I listen to stories. I draw inspiration from everywhere. Okay. I'm not Jesus. I don't know anything. I don't know the future. For me, listening and watching and being squeezed into corners, that brings out the best in me because it makes me think about how am I going to change who I am to make the world a better place. I think I'm so steadfast in my psychosis, in my way of thinking, because when I started working in this particular, in the creative industries, especially in fashion, I was the only black person working. I wrote a letter at 14 to then editor of True Love magazine, who was Pel Lutuli, and I criticized the magazine. And then she called me in during holidays, and I went through, and then that's how my journey started. And I analyzed the magazine because, let's retract back. Being born with a certain type of melanin, whether you could be very dark, and like with me with freckles and red hair, you are isolated and alienated. So I grew up being teased a lot, and that made me to go back into self, and self meant me reading, self meant me investigating emotionally, spiritually, and all my seven senses who I truly am. So my journey began from that. I think Soweto's got an identity. I would not call it fashions per se. I think we've got an identity. I cannot say we own a certain look. We do own in terms of what we bought into, because when people woke up, even during the Mandela struggles, nothing was made locally, nothing was manufactured locally, everything was imported, nothing was owned by black people, nothing was really owned by South Africans. So for me, we bought into, like, I'll make a literal example. In every family in Soweto, whether they're wearing them or not, every single person has got someone in their family has got a pair of All Stars. It's an American brand, but how did we earn that? We started buying into a system of Americana. With the Matarilana, it happened the same way. Anything that was styled Italian or was Italian, we bought into the kind of economy. So for me, we created a subculture, but we did not purchase that identity, which is the identity for me is economics. No, it's got an identity, it's got an aesthetic, it's got an identity that is literally and mandatory bought, but it is not something that's completely and utterly owned. By ownership, I'm talking about what is a particular designer who's been living in Soweto for the past 40 years, hypothetically, who is a person who's got a garment that was made and designed by a black designer 40 years ago in Soweto. We don't have that. And my grandfather used to go to Oriental Plaza twice a year and have his bespoke suits made there. They were made by Indians, they were made by a black person. So for me, again, I'm going to the whole black on purpose. What have we earned? What have we bought? As in ownership. My brand is my freckles. I've made it that. That is uniquely me. That is who I am. It is something I can't run away from, and it is nothing anyone can buy. I think number one, fundamentally, which is what we are starting to lack as black people, we don't find a black girl sitting with their grandmother doing beadwork. You don't find that anymore. Instead, they go to Chinatown and it's been made there by the Chinese. For me, it's about craft. It's got to do with skill. There has never been any skills transfer, whether it could be, like right now, all my friends who are designers, 98% of their employees who sew for them are not South African. They are Malawian or Zambian from anywhere. That, again, that's a skills transfer. For me, it's about being skilled, being trained, and knowing your craft before you can exercise your ideologies. You have to go to an institution. You have to surround yourself with people that can mentor you. You have to open your eyes and be immune to education of learning the craft first. Ideas are there and ideas are very secular. So for me, those sneakers were probably made 50 years ago. It's just someone who decided 30 years later, let me just revive the same stuff with a different color palette. So for me, and there's nothing original. Ideas are not unique. Ideas are there to be taken and to be revived and to be personalized. And for me, it's again addressing the whole education part. For me, it is ludicrous for a student who's saying NSFAS must pay for them, running around in Braamfontein at Kitchener's, drinking, wearing Yeezys and wearing Nikes and wearing all these brands. That money is supposed to have been paying for the education. I am not sitting here and waiting for anyone to make it happen for me. I just think people are consistently complacent and expecting everything on a platter. I know that a lot of people will not agree with me when it comes to that. I find also the most talented people are not complacent people. The most talented people will make it a point. They'll sell chappies and tomatoes at the corner to go to school. They are not going to be toying with Nikes and saying, give me free money and give me free accommodation for res so that I can go buy and drink gin and tonic. My love language is meeting the three of you guys right now and engaging in a conversation that I hope will open your minds and your eyes into the amount of wealth in meeting and conversations and just making yourself immune and wanting to listen and hear and adapt. So for me, this is a language of love. My love language is getting around people and exchanging conversations. I think if you really go into how fashion operates, right now Africa is at the epicenter, especially after Themba Makuku won the Vogue Award. A lot of African designers sort of like boomed after that. So they are sort of like taking little feathers from what Themba has worn and they're bringing their own identities into that. Even if you look at what Themba is doing, what Themba Makuku is doing with his storytelling through his clothes. Every single garment, there's a story to it. And it's a literal and a psychological storytelling, where whether it could be in print, whether it could be in calligraphy, or whether it could be in colorways, there is a fundamental story that is rooted with Themba Makuku coming from Kimberley. For me, that is a unique journey. And everyone now is going to tribes and cliques and trying to investigate how they could make a world a much more peaceful place in understanding each other. So people are now not, that's the whole reason again of sustainability and slow fashion is coming into being, where people want to buy things that they feel are very special. They want to buy not a printed black on purpose t-shirt, but an embroidered, because that has taken a skill to manufacture that. That has taken a certain type of quality and understanding and touch and feel from another human to another human. So for me, it's the whole cycle of reinvention of human psychosis and humanities. It is fashion anthropology. There's a difference between black consciousness and being a pan-Africanist. There's a complete difference. Black consciousness has got to do with melanin and the color black. And being Pan-African, you have to believe in the ethos and the principles and the colors and the hills and the Tabumbeki, I'm African statement. It's a completely psychological and philosophical point of view of looking at black on purpose. For me, a fashion no-no right now is parents who allow their kids, especially girls, to have false nails while they're going to school, wearing wigs with those things, what do you call them? No, with the toothbrush that they do, what do you call it? Edges, whatever, yeah. For me, that's a complete no-no. For me, it's not even a fashion, it's an insult to parenting. And a degeneration of like morality, where with me growing up at home, I got everything I wanted. But my mother would tell you, it's like, go, you want those shoes? You must know it's going to be the one pair you're going to get the whole year, as much as you could afford. My mother would say, what, you want the Levi's? There's another person who works 30 days to afford that, and you just think, I'm just going to buy you that pair of Levi's. Parenting have become an anticlimax and a fashion no-no at this point in time. For me, there's a fashion no-no. I think I already have, I know my journey. Yeah, you can wake me up at any time, no matter how intoxicated I am, and ask me anything about fashion, the creators in this continent, I'll give you an answer. I can go back to 50 years. It's my journey. I would really be lying to myself. I'm working on 2 projects. It's a trilogy of books, which is one is on the history of South African fashion, one is on my journey, and one is a critical point of view of the creative industries. And that is going to come with a 26-part docuseries. That's what I'm working towards.